I'd like to call to order the January 15, 2020 meeting of the Royal Oak Downtown Development Authority. First item on the agenda is public comment. Now would be the time to address the DDA if you'd like to speak. Any item that's on the agenda or not on the agenda. So is there anybody out there that would like to be recognized at this time? Could we have your name, please?
Hello, my name is Sean Dare. I'm a representative of the Ancient Order of Hibernians.
Okay.
First of all, I'd like to thank you for your support of the Royal Oak St. Patrick's Day Parade in the past. I'm here to announce this year's parade will be Saturday, March 14th at 10 a.m. It'll go south on Washington from Royal Oak Middle School to 7th Street. Again, that's Saturday, March 14th at 10 a.m. We also have a spaghetti dinner fundraiser scheduled for Thursday, February 20th at the Royal Oak VFW at 4th and Troy, and that goes from 4:30 to 8:30. With that, I would like to request your, support again this year for our parade.
You're already budgeted for $2,000. Generally, what happens with it is once the parade's over, there's a cost recovery sheet that's put together through the police department and DPS. When I get that, we transfer funds over to cover that. If there's any balance left, they're your responsibility, or the Ancient Order of Hibernians.
Perfect. That's excellent, and it's much
That's how
appreciated.
that'll happen.
I wasn't sure if, in order to get that, I had to formally ask for it or not. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, it's
Also-
already in the budget, so
Yeah, perfect.
it's already been approved.
Great. I appreciate that, and thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else?
Carol Hennessy, 258 East 12 Mile Road, Royal Oak. First of all, I'd like to, it might take me a little while because I've got a lot to say here today, but I want to commend you on the Christmas parade. That light parade was really great, and we really enjoyed it, and we had about 20 people ourselves, and we're going to double it next year to come and watch the parade. There's a couple of suggestions that I have, but I'll bring that up at another time. It was great, and I think you should continue having it. I don't know how your part went, but as being a citizen watching it, we had a great time. And the only thing I would like to bring up now is that I think you should have the Christmas tree lighting earlier, like before or after Thanksgiving. Have two events so you get people down here twice, by having both in one night. They're only here once, and.
Hopefully not.
Right, true, but I mean, if you do that, and then by having the tree lighting early, people will maybe start coming down here, buying things and stuff like that, for Christmas. So that's my suggestions, and I've got more, but I've been talking to Gary, so I'll let
Yeah, I
him.
would also just suggest if you want to get those down on paper or through an email or something, our Consumer Marketing Committee is going to be evaluating the event and start planning for next year's event.
Great.
So any suggestions you have would be welcome.
Okay.
And you could probably do that through Gary.
Okay.
At least, and then we'll take that input and put it through the committee's meeting.
Okay,
Thank you.
great. Yes, no problem. This is about the monument. I know most of you know this already. The Royal Oak Memorial Society worked 3 years to get the monument moved. The city told us they had no money, so we had to raise the money ourselves to get it moved. And with the help of the DDA, it ended up costing around $180,000, and it was a beautiful area. And we got so many compliments for it. We've had so many members of family members that are on the monument come and leave notes, leave flowers, and things saying, Grandpa, I love you, Uncle, I love you, I miss you, so on and so forth. And it's been a really great spot for people to come to. And we did a lot of studying and went to a lot of places to find the perfect place. And then after all of this, we found out that in the master plan, that's where they wanted it to begin with. So anyway, I just can't see moving it away from the library. I understand it's only going to be approximately 40 feet, but when you come out of the library, it's not going to be staring you right in the face. And it's going to be over here. And people aren't going to notice it as much, especially children. And they're the ones that have been questioning what it is. And the parents have been going and teaching them what it is, which has been great because that's what we wanted. I don't have all this in order, but it's already been moved 3 times. I don't know how many times it can be moved without more cracking. We already know there's a big crack in it. So I'm just afraid moving it again could cause some problems. By moving it the 40 feet to the east, it's going to be a smaller area. And the metal electrical boxes are right there, but I just heard tonight that they're going to be moved. But it is going to be a smaller area because where we have it now, it comes like a half a circle, so the grass comes out and the sidewalk comes out. There's more room for people to gather. We use the stairs of the library for the band or for the choral groups. So it makes it a much bigger area. By moving it that way, you're going to have right across from it the bee flower garden, nature garden. So that's not going to give it much more room. And this is going to get me a little bit. There were 7 names added to the monument when we moved it. These 7 veterans died in Vietnam and were missing in action. Their bodies were never sent home. So when we moved the monument and added those names, we invited the family members. And they all came, and all of them were in tears and just couldn't thank us enough because to them it was their final resting place of their loved ones. And now to have to move it again, you know, I think it's disheartening to them and to their memory. Let's see. I don't believe that this park, you're considering honoring our veterans. I feel you're thinking of it as next to the park. The park is more important. You all wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for our veterans. They should be first in our lives and not put on the side, which the way I feel they're being done. And if you don't move the monument, which someone had said it was going to be over $100,000 to move it, you can use that money to put in a bathroom. If you're putting in a splash pad for kids, anybody that has kids or grandkids know you need to have a bathroom. And especially with the splash pad, where are the parents going to go to change these children, use the bathroom, and so on and so forth? I know if they go into Henry Ford's, that's not going to last very long. They're not going to be very happy with all these wet kids running in there. So you could use that $100,000 plus to do the bathroom. Do it, use 2 corners or 2 parking spots in the parking structure and put it there. I mean, I just feel you have to do something, and I don't know. I don't think it's going to work, and I feel that it's against the veterans, but that's my feeling, and I have a strong feeling for it. And like I said, we did a lot of work to get the money and information and so on and so forth to get it where it was, and it's been the perfect spot. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Frank Hobrecht. I live at 1835 North Lafayette. My personal vote is that the Veterans Memorial should stay where it's at. But I came here to just not to stir the soup again, but everybody knows that we've got pretty strong vacancies in downtown Royal Oak. I own a few buildings. My people are holding on barely. I'm going to be losing one of my tenants soon. We're doing something wrong. Saturday night, I went home about 7 o'clock. 671 spaces were available in the Center Street deck. I mean, do one person, two person per car, that's almost 1,000 people that didn't show up. And, you know, what we lost maybe, 10 restaurants this year? And we're doing something wrong. I've asked and suggested numerous times that the decks, we should emulate Birmingham, 2 hours free, not till 5 o'clock. I just used the deck right now, first time. But there's no reason that someone couldn't come here to downtown Royal Oak and go to a deck and then spend the time. You know, they could still pay money if they're here longer than 2 hours. And I know that our previous city manager said that we were broke and blah, blah, blah. Okay. 671 spaces make no money. Nothing came in. You know, the restaurants are empty. Nobody's leaving downtown Royal Oak because they're making too much money. There's just nothing there. And if we could bring those people in on a consistent basis, I think that we could turn this thing around and we could get these vacancies filled up. Some of these vacancies have been sitting now 2 years, and who's going to come on board? And I know that everybody says that the rents are high. I spoke to a restaurant entrepreneur yesterday, and, you know, she was saying it's expensive, but it's not the expenses, it's the income. If you have a restaurant with 100 people and you're filling that 2 and 3 times a day, you'll pay that rent. You'll pay that $200-300 a day in rent and taxes and insurance and overhead costs. It's income. We're just not having the foot traffic. Spoke to a retailer yesterday. Monday, not a single sale. Tuesday, not a single sale. I spoke to him yesterday. I was the third person that walked in. The first person that walked in was the postman. The second one was somebody who made a delivery. And that's it. No customers. So I know it's a rough time right after Christmas, but I think we could do better than this. You know, we're giving out parking tickets till midnight. You know, I mean, probably none of us here personally are here at midnight, but the fact is, I think we're sending out the wrong signal. We're telling our customers, you know, come over here and then we'll get you. You know, think about that 2 hours free on the deck. Those people would fill these decks and they'll stay longer, and then they'll put that extra 75 cents, $1, $2 in here. And when those decks are full, and then we can maybe scale it back. But, you know, we could do 1 hour free during the day and just continue that throughout the night. You know, I'm going to be here for 1 hour, and that's it. I'm going to leave. But we need to get these bodies back on the streets and the sidewalks of Royal Oak and fill up these stores. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Holman. Anybody else here to address the DDA tonight? Seeing none, I'll close public comment. Move on to the agenda. Item 3, approval of the meeting minutes from December 18th, 2019.
I'll approve the minutes.
I have a motion to approve. I'm sorry. Support. Support. Director Riley. Any discussion or anybody need time to look these over? Okay, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Expense items. for informational purposes only.
Yeah, I just got
Questions?
one thing that I think is fairly obvious, but just like under Mark's Lane where it says PR, December, November mileage, that's PR for December as well as November mileage. It's not that that's the whole, it's like that's a whole mileage thing where we're reimbursing that amount of money for 2 months. Just clarification.
Anything else with monthly expenses that needs to be discussed? Okay. Move on. Item number 5, election of officers. We need to elect a chairperson and a vice person at today's meeting. So we'll open the floor for nominations, and then we will close the floor for nominations and take votes at that time, take a vote at that time. Director Krieger.
Can we elect each one individually? Is it each one individually, or is it both?
Either way.
Whatever? All right. For chairperson, I'd like to elect Mike Safaya. For vice chair, I'd like to elect Tony Yazbek.
Okay, so we have a nomination.
Ask if there are any others.
Are there any other nominations that want to be put forth? If not, I will close the nominations. And we do have a slate charted, so we will take a vote at this time. Is that correct, Tim? Okay, so we will, do we need a motion or
No, it's already got
a
the
second?
nomination.
It's already on the table.
Nominations are out
Okay.
there, yep.
Okay, so, all those that are in favor of these nominations, I'll call for that vote now.
Aye.
And any opposed? Okay, so we have the election of officers.
Congratulations.
Yeah, if all elections go. Did Tony know that was coming?
He didn't know. It was a surprise.
Jason stole my nomination.
Item number 6, bike rack design and plan.
Sean put this together. I know he's sitting behind us, but I'll have him walk through it. He put it together. The infrastructure committee looked at it and is forwarding you a recommendation, so.
Good evening. At the infrastructure's most recent committee meeting, they recommended approval of this plan, which calls for 45 bike racks, new bike racks, be purchased and installed at 14 locations. After a considerable search, we found that the company Darrow actually had the best design that the committee liked. And these are inverted U-shaped racks. They're surface mounted, so they're actually just bolted to the sidewalk. They're actually very easy to install. And we have a quote from Worry Free to perform the installations at $50 a rack. Now, the 14 locations are throughout the development district. There's a couple areas that we left out of the plan, namely the area of the new city center. So we didn't plan for any bike racks in the park, around City Hall, police station, farmer's market, library right now. Only because we wanted to make sure that the plan was approved and we knew what plan was moving forward, and then we can purchase those bike racks of a similar design at a later date. So that was intentionally left out, so if you're seeing a big blank spot of that area, that is why. So there's 2 bike racks designs. The first one, fairly standard inverted U-shaped surface-mounted rack. And then there's another one that actually has the city's logo on it. So this could be placed on either side of, say, a row of racks that we install at a few locations. They could almost be like bookends where we have the city's logo there on either side of them. We did go back and forth on the color. So at first we were looking at colors like white or orange. I know orange fits with the city's branding. I've gotten some emails from some other appointed members in the city that, that actually advocated that we go with orange. The committee's take on this was that they wanted it to be a little bit more subdued. In fact, I think, Jason, I think the metaphor was they're the supporting cast and not the stars of the streetscape. So, so they recommended that it be subdued like a silver or like a gunmetal gray or something like that. So,
Something that matches the wayfinding signage posts versus the accent colors.
but the significance of these is that they're standalone, they're branded, they're a lot more visible than what we currently have. There's currently numerous varieties of bike racks around downtown. None of them are very consistent. Some of them are actually part of parking meters, which a lot of people tend to overlook. And so in those areas, we see people chaining their bikes to trees and stop signs and things like that. So the idea behind this is we wanted to get people to stop doing that and started to use these more visible racks. So there, if the committee agrees with it, there is a resolution prepared as well. So the total estimated cost that I have is about $9,034.90. I put in the resolution not to exceed 10,000 in case we have any overages. Yes.
Just a quick question. I'm assuming going through this, each rack, quote unquote rack, is for one bike. It's basically, these are all hoops.
Yeah.
Whether they're logoed or not, these are all hoops. So we're
Right.
getting away from the corrals, which get damaged or whatever, and then the multi little hoop thing, whatever you call that. Where it's gonna be standardized all throughout. There's gonna be 45 hoops.
Right.
Okay, the next question I have is this, the only thing I have is that on Main Street, I see some of the pictures here, and it looks like, I'm just a little bit concerned about the traffic. Like 3rd and Main, I see, it looks like you're going in the bump out area, but behind the trash can, which makes all the sense in the world. 5th and Main, there's no picture, and I'm not sure,
I'm guessing it's a lot like that.
yeah, well, and that, I'm thinking that that's, I think by looking at the map, that's the west corner.
Northeast, I think.
Yeah, it's right at,
Northeast.
it's on the
No.
Fifth, it's on the 5th Street side, right outside where Noodles used to be.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so it's the northwest corner, and I don't, is there a bump out there? I'm not sure if there is. My only concern is the bike going to be,
Impede traffic.
impeding traffic? I mean, on that side, there's no, restaurant patios, which is a good thing, because you couldn't put them with restaurant patios. But I guess my only concerns are in the Main Street areas like there, and the one further up, I think is it, right there between 4th and 5th on the east side of Main. See, that looks like that's, I think that's the one in front of, is that the one in front of Alex Emilio?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, well, that's
yeah.
behind the bump out area. Are we getting into a traffic impeding situation?
No, I don't think so. If you look at it, you can put 3 of those on one square of pavement. So they have to be
Okay.
separated by about 3 feet almost. So
And
you
you're
can
going
get 3 of
from
them
the
in over a
curb-
span of 6 feet, so.
Yeah, I guess, and I'm thinking of that area, basically, if you think of the space that like a tree takes, you know, with the grading and everything, it's probably about the length of the bike.
Yeah, and I think that they also, these will fit in between one tree grate and a second tree grate.
Or that and a
So you're
trash
not
can or a
really-
light pole.
Yeah, or a different other structure, so
Basically, for lack of a better term, dead space. Yeah.
A good
it
example.
wouldn't impede the normal foot traffic row anyway.
A good example of how they're laid out is if you look at the 5th in Washington.
But which number is that, Sean?
Let's see, if you go to,
There's numbers for the
if you
picture.
go to the top of page 5, where it says configuration,
Here.
For number 4, thank you. Got it.
right there, see it?
Thank you.
Yeah, so you see how they're not going into the sidewalk, you see how they're lined up kind of vertically like that?
Yeah.
So that's a similar configuration. So if we have 4, you would just have one next to that. You see that there's at least 6 or 7 feet there of right-of-way that's not obstructed, so.
Yeah, I mean, and trust me, I'm sure there'll be some that will say, well, wait a second now, we've got signs up all over the place, no bikes on the sidewalks in the Main Street area, but, we.
Riding.
You can walk your bike.
100%, and I understand that although it's not a bike lane, that you want people to have the ability to at least ride down.
And we did look into the bike racks that are occupying on-street parking spaces, and the vast majority of opinions that I received was free up more of that on-street
Totally
parking and get those bike racks
Totally agreed there.
out of those spaces.
I think there's some people who were leery of putting their bikes there anyway, because they're in the middle of the traffic, so to speak, so. No, I totally agree. All right.
Director Gash.
Yes. So in terms of the request to not have, to have them look more like the wayfinding machine, wayfinding signage, is there any thoughts to having the logo be colorful or be the orange? Because I, as a person who rides my bike, you want these to stand out because you want them to be used. And so if you have them blend, I'm not so sure. I get that you don't want them to have a spotlight on them, but I'd like them to at least be acknowledged that they are there, or because we do get a lot of foot traffic at night, I don't want someone falling over them either. Knowing that these are not in the normal foot traffic areas. But as we do a lot of pub crawls and things around the city, I'd prefer, I'd like some color to them. Secondly, have we thought about putting any racks in the parking decks like there is one on, there's an interesting bike assembly outside of, just off of Main Street in the private deck of Gongos and such, behind Pinky's. They have a interesting cable rack for bikes, to secure bikes out. Is there any thoughts of our public parking decks putting some bike racks inside the main floor so to have protected parking for bikes?
We did discuss that at the meeting, didn't we? Wasn't that,
There are some.
I think there are some there currently. Tim, can you?
Oh, I think there's some pictures of them, but the Center Street deck, the new portion has bike racks in it.
Okay. I didn't know.
The
Those are there.
cargo container has bike racks in it that are right adjacent to it. The new deck on Second has bike lockers in it, that you can put them inside lockers. So yes, I think the committee stayed away from changing those out at this point.
Okay. Is there one at the, off of Lafayette, at the older,
I haven't been over there, I don't recall.
Sixth and Lafayette?
There's some in there.
There are, okay. All right. Just didn't see them in here.
Okay.
Well, there is a resolution there that Sean suggested in his draft memo, but I would suggest that for clarity, you would add a decision on the color scheme, as well as I'd like an authorization to provide funding from the contingency fund, because this project isn't budgeted in the current fiscal year. So those would be the only two things that, for clarity, I would add to that resolution.
Okay, so
So,
the committee's discussion was, go ahead.
I'll just say, I'm obviously gonna be in support of this, on the committee, so I guess I'll move the resolution to start conversation. Is that fine? Discussion?
Yeah. So I have a motion on the table,
I'll second it.
second by Director London.
So the only thing I would say about the color is, I do think that it should be something that is consistent with the wayfinding signage. I get the idea of color and seeing it and everything else, but good urban design practice, and you can take this practice into the designing of shopping malls, anything where there's shopping retail, you want the signage and other things to stand out because that's what you want your attention to go to. I think it would be personally, I think it'd be distracting. I think that should be a good, as you said, supporting cast member for everything. there's a lot going on in our downtown visually. We have signs everywhere. I wish I could take a hacksaw and chop a lot of them down. And I'm afraid if we have more color and stuff, it's gonna get even more cluttered. And this, to me, in my mind, is a way to help simplify and start to create more cohesion for the infrastructure so that we can have other things stand out. So I would propose that we keep it a color that matches the bases of our wayfinding signage. And if we wanted to do something that was different, maybe take a black and a gray, but that's my take on it. But I would just keep it so that it's consistent personally, so.
Director London?
I agree with Jason, and I also think it's like color pollution, and you have so much going on visually, it's distracting to the eye.
Okay. Director Riley?
Yeah, I am, just I think that the biggest positive is that we're cleaning up a bunch of hodgepodge of bike stuff, and if nothing else, everyone will know these are bike racks. You know, we're going from these corrals to this.
Oh, it's crazy
to,
down there.
if you look at
Yeah,
picture
all sorts of
13,
stuff.
where we have
Yeah, we
those little emblems on the parking meters that we all know is a bike rack, but I'm not sure anybody riding by on their bike is ever gonna notice them.
Or see 'em,
So we're getting there. I don't know that we wanna make them, you know, bright and so they stand out. Dr. Krieger, when you said like maybe black and gray, are you saying like on this, have one black, one gray, one black, one gray?
That's what we talked about, yeah. But
That might be the way to go. Just a little different. It certainly makes it stand out a little more.
it does, but, you know, if you look at, you know, downtowns that have been through all this, and when they walk down, they seem nice and pleasing and simple to the eye, you're gonna find that those items are all the same color. I mean, if I could, I would have all the,
Yeah.
everything, I'd have all the meters be the same color. You
Yeah.
want that to just be kind of like a soft background to everything else that you have in the downtown. It's more important.
Okay. Fair enough. No, it's a good point. I don't think any of us can sit here and say, oh yeah, that city's got those jamming bike racks. So.
Okay, so does that give you some clarity?
Well, there's a motion that says
There's
to
a motion
approve
that-
with a
Okay.
color that matches the wayfinding sign, the gray,
Okay.
and authorize funding from the contingency fund, so
Okay.
if it passes, I got
Okay,
lots of clarity.
there you go. Okay, so, would anybody like to discuss this any further, or if not, I think I will call for the vote. All those in favor of the motion? Aye. Opposed? Okay, and the motion passes. Okay. Item number 7, downtown park recommendation.
The DDA had a presentation at your last meeting in regards to downtown park, and then it was referred to the infrastructure committee to review it in more detail, the two options that were presented by the consultant, and bring back a recommendation to the full board. The committee did meet, and they have presented a recommendation to you that they're recommending what's called Glade A with some slight modifications. That design was the one that included a slight gentle slope or hill at the southeast corner of the park, or where Troy and 3rd Street intersect. So that was the general option that they liked. They also liked the fact that the walkway or sidewalk bisected that green space leading up to the entrance of the park, as it provided some visual and sight lines. They felt, though, that that element would, one, require that the War Memorial be removed or moved, as indicated in that plan. They also felt that moving the memorial gave it a good setting in alignment with other things that are across from the library, the butterfly garden, and some other things in terms of a setting. One of the elements the committee would like to see addressed in Glade A is that there be less concrete or hard surface material on the east-west connector or walkway that goes along 2nd Street. Those are the primary revisions as far as the conceptual design that the committee is recommending to you. There is a task force meeting this evening at 6:30, I believe. And Jason is a member of that committee, so if the board were to pass a resolution tonight, he could present it to them as part of this committee update. So there is a suggested resolution there if you support the committee's recommendation. Obviously, it was a draft, a resolution to attempt to get the feeling across, but if the infrastructure committee has anything they want to add to it, that would be fine too.
So we do have a suggested resolution as part of the pack.
Well, I heard Ms. Hennessy's concerns, and so I don't know, just a little discussion on what we think about the memorial. I think we all want to be respectful to that beautiful memorial. I understand when we had the presentation in there, the workshop, it just, this glade that's being recommended flows more logically. The overall park seems to flow better and connect both sides of the park. I'm glad to hear that the electrical boxes won't be there anymore. That's a positive thing. What do we think about is it a significantly smaller space, a reduced space from what is there now, or?
Well, I mean, I could say that, we did discuss that at the infrastructure meeting, and we felt that it was a comparable space. Now, you do have Troy on one side, whereas now, you don't have Troy as close. But you do still have the walkway that goes towards the west, okay? One thing that we liked was that we felt that it actually created a more respectful environment. It was quieter. The one thing that we didn't really like when we looked at the other one was that it was out in the open, and felt like this right here gave more of a sense of a space for the War Memorial in a good way. So that I don't know if that's addressing your question, but
Yes.
believe me, we had a very, very long discussion over it both ways. And so that's ultimately where we ended up as a committee.
Can you still see it, that it's there when you're coming out of the library, or is it kind of hidden and you?
No, it's literally when you walk down out of the door, the steps are right here. It's to your left.
What about the visual from Troy Street? Can you see it from Troy Street also?
Yeah.
If you're walking down Troy
Yeah,
Street?
of course. Yeah.
So that could be an advantage, that you can see it from.
And you have to remember too, these are conceptual renderings that are going to be advanced. This is really about high-level placement of where to go next. So these designs, Tony, can be adjusted. They will be further than advanced.
Director Riley.
Can I ask Ms. Hennessy a question?
Sure.
And I mean this as sincerely as possible. What do you feel is more important and germane? The sanctity of the memorial or the enlightenment? In other words, the number of people who can see it and learn from it?
Visibility of it.
I mean,
Visibility.
visibility, or is it a place to not, I don't want to say worship, but to remember, or is it a place that for everybody to go and learn, or is it both?
It's both. I don't know if all of you know where the War Memorial was before. It was
At the end of the
at
parking
the
lot.
end of the walkway over here by Andiamos and Brugger's. And so, I mean, there was no peace there whatsoever. A lot of people didn't even know it was there. But I've sat out in front of the monument and watched people, families, walking out of the library. And when you walk out of the library, it's right there. You can't miss it. Over there, you're going to miss it, And the children would say, "What is that?" And the parents would go and take them and show them. And so it was a learning, for the children. And like I said, for those that had missing in action members and finally found out that they had died and we added their names here, they feel like that's their burial area for their loved ones. But we never saw any notes, any flowers, anything when it was down at the end of the parkway. Here, like I said, there's notes. It's more visible and it's more visited than ever before. And it's just been the perfect spot. And like I said, we did 3 years of research trying to find the perfect spot, because a lot of people said, well, we should go to Memorial Park because that's Memorial Park. Well, yeah, that was good, but there was no protection,
One other thing, I would think, and that's really well stated, I would think that one positive is in terms of the memorial being visited, that once this is completed, it'll be visited more than ever before, just simply because of the foot. This is going to be like the center of the city, for lack of a better term. This is, the way this has all been constructed, for this to be between, in front of the library with City Hall, over on the other side of Troy, this is for, I don't want to use the word, but it's like the jewel of the city. So the memorial is becoming a part of the jewel of the city. Now, let me ask you guys a question, and Ms. Hennessy as well. What about signage directing do we have any plans for, I know we don't want signs all over the place, but do we, Memorial Garden, anything like that, or is this something?
That hasn't even come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We named it after it was moved, and that whole walkway was supposed to be Veterans Memorial Plaza.
Okay. Okay. Which is what it says right there. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you have any questions for, or do you want some comments?
Comments.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ennis, thank you. Director Baglio, please.
In all of my years on the DDA, I've made some difficult decisions, but this is probably the one that I've struggled with the most, because this is so important to a lot of people, and rightfully so. I've had some private conversations with Ms. Hennessy, and I've explained to her my struggles and how I came to the decision that I need to support this rendering. And because of its current location, and we're rearranging the land all the way around the memorial, if we left it where it was, it would, for lack of a better term, it would be in the way. I feel like it would be crawled over. It would be like remodeling your home and not moving your sofa. That's a disrespectful way of putting it, but I can't find the right words. I really feel that, as difficult as this decision is, once we make it, I hope that Carol will be involved with the designers of the park to address some of the concerns that she has in creating a new space. And I have the ability of seeing things before they're done. These pictures do some justice, but I feel like what they've achieved is creating a new reverent space for this monument. And we're ultimately doing more respect to the veterans by what we're going to create, not by what we're going to dismantle and move. So I see this as an opportunity for them to work with the committee and for us to infuse more money to make this even better than it already is. So again, it was a struggle for me, but that's my reason to support this, because it's going to be part of an amazing town square that we're creating for our city. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
Anything else? I will say this, and I apologize if I didn't approach this the right way. I'm part of the infrastructure committee, and my understanding was, as when we looked at this, this was something that came from the task force, and they were showing us two options, Glade A and Glade B, and I felt like it was our task to choose between one of these, and I know we had some leeway about making some recommendations and things like that, but when I looked at it, I agree with what Director Baggio said here. Glade A obviously stood out as the better design and layout, and then when I did look at it, my primary focus was the War Memorial, as opposed to all the other things that were going on with the design of the park and everything else. So that was where my head was at the point, and I was trying to choose between A and B and what would be best for the War Memorial, and I felt that there was a clear-cut choice there, and Glade A was the one. So, that was my thought process in making this recommendation to this board. So, just I want to be clear on that. I felt like we were choosing between the two, and this was the best choice. So, that being said, if there's no further discussion, I could use a resolution here or a motion.
So I'll make a motion to move the resolution.
Okay. I have a motion by Director Krieger,
I support.
support by Director Osbeck. And I've already asked if anybody wanted to discuss this any further. If not, I will call for this vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And the motion does pass. Okay. Item number 8, reschedule October 21st, 2020 DDA meeting.
There is a conflict. It's come to our attention. The clerk's office has it reserved for election and election training, so this room won't be available on that date. Your options are to cancel the October meeting or reschedule it for another date in October, either probably a week earlier or what works for your schedules, but we won't be able to meet on that date. And I'm not suggesting moving rooms because your meetings are televised and we rely on the computers to use it, so.
I don't know if anybody else had any thoughts. I did have a thought on it, but I'll open it up. My thought was that I think the smart idea would be to at least reschedule the meeting at this point. And being that this being the October meeting, I don't know if we're going to have to make some hard decisions at that time of year regarding the holiday events and the things, the busy time of year that we have with parking issues and events and everything else. So unless we can plan ahead and get everything done at the September meeting, we're going to be pushing everything back to November, and I'm not sure that that's prudent. I would suggest that if all the work does get done and we do not have a lot on our plate at that time and we want to cancel the meeting, that we do so in enough notice prior to that. But I think for today, I think the best idea would be to reschedule the meeting.
I would suggest either the 14th or the 28th of October.
Yeah, I agree, Director Spy. I mean, we can always, if we get to it and then there's nothing going on, obviously we can always make that decision then. I would think that since we're going, after that, it's November and you're getting the Thanksgiving month, maybe we go to the 14th as opposed to, if you do the 28th, then
I just need a motion to either the 14th or the 28th.
I'll make a motion to move the meeting to the 14th.
I'll support that.
So,
Moved and supported. Any discussion? Okay, call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so that is done. Number 9, other business. I'm going to move I'm going to start with item B on this, agenda item. And item B is the Siren PR proposal. And we can start with either the chair of the BMC committee or Mr. Twain.
I wasn't at the meeting
Okay.
that's referenced here, so I would suggest you start
We
with
also
Sean
have
and then go to the
Mr.
committee.
Kammer.
You want to start, and then I'll take it? Or-
Yeah, I'll just give a brief summary.
Sure, you brief somebody, then I'll take it.
Editorial action.
Sure.
So there's a motion before the committee, or before the board, that came from the Business Marketing Committee that met Friday morning. So this was kind of a late add-on on Monday morning. And that is to hire Siren PR, which is a public relations and communications firm that's actually located here in downtown Royal Oak, to conduct a 6 to 8 week communications audit. And as you can see in the presentation attached, that it's divided into a couple of phases. But as I mentioned, it's a 6 to 8 week audit for them basically to kind of assess where we stand with communications in the district, among our businesses, and then out to the general public at large, as well as to any relevant downtown stakeholders. So basically, going to show us where we stand, and they're going to give us some recommendations for a scope of work of some things we need to work on and how we can do that. So I'll let the chair of the Business Marketing Committee take it from there.
Yep, and Lindsay is here from Siren, so I'll introduce her to you guys. And basically, what they proposed, so we're basically going in a different direction in terms of our PR from the firm that we've been dealing with, where we had a 6-month contract. And we will engage in a full contract with Siren, but we felt we wanted to get this going now as opposed to lose another month, particularly with so much going on in the downtown area. It is our desire, and I believe the whole board's, and we'll get in this in the next month's meeting, to get very aggressive with regard to communications, promotions, everything we can do in the downtown area with regard to getting stuff out there about events, happenings in Royal Oak on a weekly basis, a weekendly basis, if that's such a word, promoting every weekend, business retention, you name it. So what Siren has recommended, and basically this is the way that they operate, which I really like, is they're going to come in and do a full audit, and they're going to get into all of us, and they're going to get into all of the people, all the retail, all the restaurants and bars, and figure out the best way. If you think about it, I made an analogy in the meeting. It was like when we hired Sean, basically we said, all right, what are you going to do your first day on the job? Well, we're not going to be here in your office, so get out there, get boots on the ground, get out there in the downtown, the CBD, and the DDA area, and find out what the heck is going on here and what do we need to do. That's what we're going to do with Siren. So our hope is that, I think we're getting back together the 29th, January 29th, and we will finalize a contract with Siren, which we'll bring back in February. So right now, this is the prelim, and the only reason this is here without the contract is we just met, was it last week? Friday, okay, Friday. So we didn't have the time to put everything together because of the holiday to come to the table today with a full contract. So I apologize for piecemealing it, but such is the case.
So it's not your intent to sign the proposal that's attached?
Yes, it is. It is, but yes, for the proposal that's attached.
For the audit, right?
Is for the audit only.
All right.
Yeah, but in a perfect world, we would have had the audit and full contract all at the same time, so.
Wouldn't the audit help to dictate some of the terms in the full contract?
Yes and no, because the full contract will be predicated on everything that they're doing and what will Sean do, et cetera,
Right.
in terms of, and look, I'll just put this out there right now, like we talked about this in the meeting. In the past, we've worried about overlap from different places. I'll speak for myself, and I think I can speak for the Business Marketing Committee. If we overlap a little bit, we don't care at this point. We'd rather overlap than not touch at this point. In other words, leave no stone unturned at this point. Obviously, we don't want diminishing returns where you get too many cooks in the kitchen, you're bumping into each other, and mistakes are happening. I'm not saying that we just go with a full scattered shotgun approach. No, we're gonna have a focused approach led by Siren, and we're gonna do this right. So, that being said, I think that once, the bottom line is that we are going with them, we are going to enter into contract with them, and I would think that within them getting into this, within sooner than 2 months, we're going to know what their role will be, and that in turn, what our retainer will be. How's that?
Good. Lindsay, could you come up for a minute, please? I won't even try and pronounce your last name.
Lindsay or
'cause
Lindsay?
I said Lindsay, but
Okay, I said
I'm
Lindsay.
avoiding her last name because I didn't want to beat it up.
Sure, no problem. Lindsay Walenga.
Okay, just tell us about your company and everything real quick here, and just give her an overall. We'll get into a lot more later, but I just wanted you to meet everybody on the board, and so we can move forward.
That sounds
Thank-
good. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, Matt and Sean, for that, kind of the context around that. Hi, everyone. I'm Lindsay Walenga. I'm CEO of Siren PR. We are a strategic communication and public relations firm. We're located right here in downtown Royal Oak. Our office has been here for about 2.5 years. We're talking about expanding our office right now, actually, so we have plans to stay. The introduction that Matt gave was quite accurate in that our approach to beginning a relationship with a new client is always to align strategy and take a look at, who are the audiences that the Royal Oak DDA is trying to communicate with, and what are the messages that they need to hear from you before we start actually doing that. We heard from the Business Marketing Committee that that hasn't been done yet. So that's something that is really poignant to starting our relationship off on the right foot, identifying what goals we're trying to achieve together, getting clarity around what messages will be going out, and really listening to the community in the process of that. This is the approach that we take with our clients, and we have found much success doing it that way. Are there any questions that I can
Anybody have
answer?
any questions?
I have one. So what type of capabilities do you have beyond PR and communications?
So our sweet spot, the hallmark of what we do is strategic communication work. And that encompasses earned media channels, working with journalists, pairing our clients up with the right opportunities with journalists, building relationships with journalists on their behalf. It incorporates shared media channels that involves all facets of social media, including influencer marketing, which is, I don't know how familiar you guys are with that term, but that's something that we get into as well. And also owned media channels that incorporates e-newsletters, website content, messaging across, your website, really any platform or channel that you own that you use to communicate with your audiences. We get a little bit into the paid side, mostly from a strategic level. We do media buying for Cranbrook Institute of Science, but it's not something that we do on a regular basis.
Okay.
Quick question. So you have a discovery session, and then you have community listening, right? So the discovery session, are you only speaking with members of the DDA, or are you also reaching out to business owners or property owners, like the gentleman we heard from earlier? That's number one. Then number two, the community listening, I know that you go out, and do you just randomly go out and walk into businesses? Do you find out if there are certain key people that you want to speak with? Could you just talk about that? How are you going to get the information?
Yeah, I can describe the process a little bit more to you. So we refer to this whole thing that you're looking at here as a strategic communication project to kick off the ongoing long-term relationship. The audit is part of that. That's first where we take a look at what has happened to date and how effective each of those strategies has been. The discovery phase involves a strategic discussion. It's a meeting with likely the Business Marketing Committee members, maybe some people from the Consumer Committee, and we also determine in partnership with our primary contacts, who from the community does it make sense to have at that discovery session. We have done it in the past where we have a separate discovery meeting with community members, or we could have select members incorporated into the main. It just, we'll determine that with Sean and Matt and
Okay.
as we go. But then, yes, also one-on-one conversations with some key people in the community will be important. We did a little bit of that over the summer as we were preparing to start talking about entering a relationship with the DDA. I think it's important for our team to have those personal connections with some of the key business leaders in the community, and we'll just have a discussion with the group around who are the right people for that.
Yeah, if I could just add something, what we discussed was, was that, may have been before or after you left, was that we discussed this with Sean, that we would have definitely members of the Consumer Marketing Committee and also stakeholders involved. I don't want to use the term key stakeholders, because they're all key stakeholders, but making sure that we get a diversified group of stakeholders from different areas, both geographically and in terms of demographics, in terms of what they provide, you know, in terms of restaurants, real estate, retail, et cetera, office, all that.
That's a very good point, Matt, because we want to make sure that we're covering all of the important perspectives. The goal of this is to learn and listen so that we can make informed decisions around how to package messaging and distribute the information.
Okay. Anything else? Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Okay, so there is a suggested resolution in front of us.
So moved.
Moved by Director Ballio,
Second.
second by Director Krieger. Any other further discussion at this point? Call for the vote. I'm sorry.
Again, I'll just point out that it'll come out of your contingency fund. It's not a budgeted line item yet, but we'll do that for the fiscal year.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to ask if we had, I would assume that we would have budgeted for the PR. Did we budget the full year or just the 6 months?
The only thing you've budgeted for PR was the ones for Mark Lane.
Okay, which
was
only
their
went through
contract.
December, as the
Yeah,
contract did.
And that was the whole amount, though.
Correct.
So this is on top of that.
Okay.
And that'll have to come out of the contingency.
And I guess the point that I'm making.
Not an issue. It's
Yeah,
just-
I guess the point that I'm making, I apologize, because we misbudgeted then, because we knew that we were going to continue with PR. It just was that we had a 6-month contract that, I think at that time was $4,500 a month. And so basically, this is the next 2 months at $4,500 a month. Wasn't in the budget, should have been, my bad. So, But I guess my point is that we're not increasing right now what we spent on PR.
Okay. If there's nothing else, there is a motion on the table. So I will call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, next item, item C, Metrotimes Blowout 2020. I guess this is,
Well, the memo came from Sean, so I'll let him
okay.
read into it.
At its most recent committee meeting, the Consumer Marketing Committee met with representatives from the Metro Times who have a request from the DDA to sponsor an event that they'd like to bring to the community. It's entitled Metro Times Blowout, or Royal Oak Blowout, I believe is the name of the event. I believe it was in Hamtramck and a few other nearby communities over the years. They're looking to bring it to downtown Royal Oak, and I believe they're in the process of submitting a special event permit to the police department. From the discussion at the Consumer Marketing Committee, the event is estimated to include over 100 live musical acts over a 2-day duration on June 5th and 6th. And the main part of the event is going to take place at the 6th and Main Street parking lot. And then they're also going to include numerous venues around downtown as well, where they're going to be booking live acts. So they're requesting a sponsorship amount of $50,000 for the event. And then if you look, you have a resolution basically to direct staff to draft an agreement regarding the sponsorship.
Okay, would you like to add anything?
Sure. We, Sean and I have been kind of looking, searching for something, some kind of event to bring people downtown. That's one of our core responsibilities, is to bring people downtown. We do a pretty good job of that. But we wanted to do it and be as inclusive as possible. So this is not only a musical event, but it also has an emphasis on art and places that, businesses that can't accommodate maybe a musical act can have some kind of art display, retailers, salons even, all businesses. So we wanted to make sure that this was a very inclusive event. And, you know, the best way, we heard in public comment that, you know, people are forgetting about Royal Oak. The best way to remind them about Royal Oak is to have these kinds of cool events that can be very successful and that Royal Oak can own on an annual basis. And, you know, if we're even close to the 25,000 person estimate that they're giving us, it's going to be hugely successful. And things like this allow us to illustrate how easy it is to get around Royal Oak, to walk around, to park in our new structures. Parking, in my opinion, is becoming an advantage versus some of these other communities versus a disadvantage that it's been for so long. So there's a lot of positive aspects about this. It's not going to be extremely intrusive on the downtown. We're just going to take over the big lot at 6th and Main. The rest of the festival is in the businesses, so creates the traffic that we want for businesses. So, yeah, it's a very exciting proposition. The Metrotimes folks are here, and I like listening to them. They are good at representing the concept. They've promised us that they won't let us down, so, you know, we're all for this event.
Any questions anyone has?
Come on, yeah, introduce yourselves.
I'm Jim Cohen. I'm with Jeff Nutter, who's also with the Metrotimes. He does lives and does a lot of work with the Royal Oak businesses, and so we're just glad you came to us for a proposal. And this is something that we've done for 20 years now. It's we've taken a break from it for a couple of years because we were really, as coincidentally, looking for the right area to do it, and so we were going to. We had done it in Hamtramck for many, many years. It was kind of in tandem with this burgeoning music scene and rock and roll scene. And then we were thinking about Detroit and Corktown and Midtown and Ferndale and things like that. And nothing was just right. And at the same time, you know, Gary and Tony and Sean came to us looking for a proposal. And so that was very serendipitous. But we've done this, I think, since... what year is it? Around 2000, 1999. Yeah, so for a long time, and it started off strong, and it got to a very big point. It got to a point we're looking to start it in around 10 to 12 music venues, which could be anywhere from big places, established bars, to, you know, funky places or hole in the walls, or, you know, places, and that's the charm of this event, you know, and everything in between. And kind of a twist that we're going to do this year is also involve retail businesses and doing art pop-ups in those businesses, and involve, so not only local bands times 4, but all these local artists. And then we just promote the heck out of it. And so that's the other, so we do expect a lot of people to come. But the noise that we make over this in obviously our own channels, but besides that, billboards and paid social media and radio and TV and all those things. So it's quite a to-do. And so we're excited to be doing a huge music and art festival. But obviously we think it's you know, not only, I think it's mutually beneficial because it's great for Royal Oak, but it's good for us too, but it's good for the festival. You need a great downtown walkable area for something this to work, and so checks off a lot of boxes. But I've been involved with it since, from the start. I'm old. But no, seriously, I've been around. So any questions that you have, we'll be able to answer or shoot out an answer to you. One of the changes that we are going to do this year is that, as Tony mentioned, and Sean, we are going to anchor it Saturday, especially going into Saturday evening, with a national, regional, big national stage on the in that parking lot. What's the official name of the lot?
6th Street.
P7?
We'll come up with an official name for the lot too.
Yeah, P6.
As part of our promotional campaign, we'll name the lot for you. You know, and to do that, to have you know, just a larger stage and a larger attraction to kind of really make the whole thing a slam dunk. You know, so between that and driving people to the businesses and having people walk around, and another thing that we're all about is making it a perennial event and really starting somewhere and then growing from there. You know, I remember when we were in Hamtramck, it started at a dozen places, and then in about 3 or 4 years' time, it was at 30 bars. And
So I
Hamtramck bar
have two
owners.
questions for you. One, was there a 2019 event?
Nope.
No. When was the last event?
I
that
think
was
the
done?
last one was in 17
In
or
17.
18. Correct. 18, I'm sorry, Mike.
Was that Hamtramck?
That was, it was in Hamtramck, Ferndale, and Detroit.
Okay.
And so that was one of the reasons why we, you know, took a hiatus for a few years, is because, you know, we had wanted to move it from Hamtramck, and then we had found putting it in multiple locations at the same time. The first year was very successful, second year, like that. And it just became hard for people to enjoy, and, you know, that's, we needed to get back to that walkable situation.
Okay. My second question is, you talked about promotion.
Yes.
And you talked about all the different avenues and everything else. And I guess there's a two-part question here. Is one, so you guys handle all of that promotional stuff, the social media, the billboards, the TV, everything else goes through your organization?
Yes.
Okay. And then I guess another one is not a question, I guess it's just my thought process here is, and I'm in support of this, but I would like to make sure that, you know, the additional things that we're adding onto the event, the art and everything else is not just a sideline add-on, that it is being marketed and promoted as much as the other portions of the event.
Right, really promoted as a music and art festival.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think that's a really important factor. We just don't want any portion of the event to be just a add-on thing at the last minute. We want it to be all in one big package, I think.
That's a great point, thank you.
Okay.
Other things going on, community-wise, that we're already finding out about, and we don't want to override them or swallow them. If it's appropriate for them to become a part of this, or for us to become a part of whatever they're doing, we are all about that.
Okay. Appreciate that.
We had a large discussion about that.
Okay, that's
especially
good. I'm
given
glad
that
I-
weekend.
yeah.
We also talked about the art component being, picking, you know, working with retailers to make sure that those
Sure.
pop-ups were well thought out.
Good.
Just a couple comments. I can imagine there might be some people at the table or some people watching, listening on the TV, or people in the audience thinking like, oh boy, here we go, another music festival. We've got this, that, and the other. The one thing that I'll say is, back, I hate to sound like an old man, but back in the day, I was at the Blowout in Hamtramck, and it's probably one of the coolest events I've been to in my whole time in this state, which is my entire life. And this event has a different tenor than anything that we've ever done. A totally different tenor. If I use the word coolness, then I'm going to get okay boomered. But It just has a hipness factor, a coolness to it that we don't have anywhere else. And one thing that I would caution everyone is that this thing, at least, and I watched it grow in Hamtramck, and I had a friend who had his ear to the scene down there. I remember when Smalls first opened and all that. I mean, I used to be an old Paychecks, Touch of Pats kind of guy, and then he started taking me to these newer places. And this thing grew and grew and grew. So this thing, in my opinion, it's going to be great out of the start. It might not be the grand slam, but within a couple of years, I can see this thing being like just a whole different event. And again, I can see people going, wow, the next weekend we've got the the clay and glass, and then we've got the rock and rides, different crowds, which I think it's great. I mean, I'm looking at this thing. Police department might not agree with me on this one, but, you know, because it's so much back to back. But we're lining up events that are hitting different demographics and different niches all in a row, which I think is amazing.
Word.
Yeah.
You said the magic
Which I think is the beauty of this, and I love this. So.
Thanks, Matt. And you can imagine back in the day, there wasn't social media, so you didn't have 4 bands playing at all these different places. Right,
It was picking up. It was coming out of the gym and picking up the paper and flipping through it
Right.
and seeing. And when this thing came out, flipping through who's at what place and what the wristband was, it was great.
Yeah, and a lot of it is the artists, you know, promoting it and bringing their people and getting, and it's you know, we think it'll be really good from the start, but it's going to be a process. So you're right, and I get okay boomered once an hour.
I bet you do.
Oh,
Director Baglio?
The magic word you said was demographic. And Tony and Sean and I worked for a long time talking to a whole bunch of different vendors about some sort of festival that would bring the right demographic to Royal Oak, one that we're not covering. We looked at different music festivals like Pig and Whiskey and Mopop and identified that that's the demographic that we're looking for to bring here to our city. We talked to Metrotimes, and it was a great hand-in-hand fit. Our city is very walkable. We have all of the venues. And I want to touch on something you said about the noise. Metrotimes is at the center of the noise in Metro Detroit. I'm part of their feed, and Royal Oak is losing its market share in that noise. And this will help us bring it back up to the level that we need to be in terms of noise for that demographic, and bringing it back to our city. I hate to use the word cool, because that makes me, we're dating ourselves.
But it brings back the unique flavor that Royal Oak's been known for.
Exactly.
I mean, growing up not in Royal Oak, this was my hangout spot when I turned 16, so, and I moved here. So, and I've been to the blowouts before in Hamtramck, and this is definitely a different demographic, or the demographic you used to get. And now, this will definitely
Bring it back.
bring that back from downtown Detroit
The other
potentially.
thing that I want to make sure that everybody understands is, we didn't just choose that weekend because it's the only weekend in June that there isn't anything going on. We looked at the entire schedule of Metro Detroit music happenings, and that basically was the right time to put it, so that we're not competing with Pig and Whiskey or Mopop or some of the other festivals that are happening in the Metro Detroit area. So this is, I'm very, very excited about this, and I'm very excited about the art aspect and being able to bring people into the, yoga studios for art pop-ups, and it checks off all the boxes.
Okay. All right, if there's no other comments, I'd like to bring it back to the table.
Just one comment. It sounds like a great event. From an administration standpoint, the sooner you guys get in and start talking with the police department, the better. Because
already
this is
spoke with them yesterday, and forms are being filled out as we speak.
okay, excellent.
Thank you, David.
Because this is a new event, we'll just have to work through all the details, but I'm sure we'll be able to do it, so.
Right.
Thank you. If you just have a seat for a minute, and we'll discuss here at the table. So there is a suggested resolution on the, before us.
I'll move the resolution.
Support. Okay, so.
Everybody
I've got
talked me into it. I couldn't say no if I wanted to.
Director Krieger and Director Baglio. Okay, is there any questions? I just have two quick things. One is, we're treating this as a straight $50,000 sponsorship, is that correct?
We are the event sponsor, correct?
Correct.
Presenting sponsor.
We are the presenting sponsor, okay. And this will be the draft agreement will be a one-year agreement?
Right.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure.
Try to get it back next month.
Okay, good.
And the 50,000 is coming out of the balance of what's already budgeted in your events budget line item.
Got it,
So it's not adding money.
got it. Okay, that answers my questions. If nothing else, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passed. Okay. Last item on our agenda is the downtown manager's report. Whenever you're ready, Sean.
Sure. I won't go through the entire thing, but I will answer any questions if you have them. I just wanted to bring up 4 main points. I met with the management of Bistro 82 yesterday and had a long conversation about what ultimately led to their decision. For those who don't know, that management team also manages the Maury. They were talking about how well that the Maury was doing. We got into a couple of the factors that led to Bistro's closing, and parking was not one of them. So to dispel that notion, it mostly just had to do with Bistro just becoming just not a good fit because of market forces, spending power, demographics of the local area, things like that. So so that I don't think we can blame on any public policy or anything, so I'll dispel that now. You can blame capitalism. Secondly, I just wanted to go over some of the openings that we have. We have Essen on Main that just recently opened. They've done a soft opening. They're going to be announcing a grand opening here shortly, and I'm working with them on putting something together that could make a splash, get some more media attention. Mathnasium actually has a ribbon cutting tomorrow evening at 5 o'clock with the Chamber. And then also Thai Princess Restaurant opened up at 515 South Lafayette, right there at 6th and Lafayette. At the Consumer Marketing Committee, it was brought up that we look into tracking our website traffic with Google Analytics. I've been working with our IT department to actually get that established. They sent me the final things today, so it looks like we have Google Analytics up and running to monitor our website traffic, so we can start sharing that with our advertisers. And then lastly, I'm working with the pedicab operators, Scoop. We were going to meet the last week of January. Something came up in their schedule. They're currently out of town, so we're looking at the first week in February. But I think that gives us more time to notify the downtown businesses that we're going to have a meeting where they can give a presentation on the pedicab service and how they're expanding and all the new bells and whistles they're going to be bringing to Royal Oak. So unless there are any questions, that concludes my report.
Any questions for the downtown manager?
Sean, you manage the downtown Royal Oak Facebook page?
Yes.
Or does our PR firms?
The PR firm was providing content for it and scheduling the posts. Yes.
Nothing else?
Motion to adjourn?
I got 3 updates.
Hold on, I got to see.
I got 3 updates,
man.
just for your info.
Okay.
The consultant on the commercial space and the parking deck is working on construction documents. As soon as those are done, we'll send them out for bid. After the building department has reviewed them so that they're all in compliant. And then we'll bring those bids back to you for consideration to award the improvements of that space, so that's moving forward. The decorative streetscape lights downtown, the ones that are in all the streetscape sidewalks. You may recall that we've budgeted a considerable amount of money to replace all the sodium vapor lights. We've met with the vendor today, with DPS's electrician and suppliers. As soon as we have the inventory done, we will get together numbers on the replacement costs as well as a number for the installation. Bring that to you for actual award and work. And the third item was the alley lighting out here between 3rd and 11 Mile. We are asking, soliciting bids from a lighting design firm to actually design it for us and select a fixture and how to install it. At that point, we will give that to DTE so they can tell us the rates they're gonna charge to put it on their poles.
Would that be something that we would continue down as we do the alley?
If you like it and you want to, certainly, but we're trying to get 2 blocks done, and it's been a pushback from DTE wants the light fixtures before they'll give us the agreement, and we need the agreement, so I finally decided we're just gonna get it designed, and if it's under $3,000 for the design, I'm gonna get quotes from at least 3 firms. We're just gonna proceed. If it's over that, I may have to bring it to the board for approval. Like I said, once the design's done, we'll get DTE's agreement, we'll bring that to you, and then bid it for installation. So hopefully sometime late spring, early summer, we'll have lights in the alley that can change colors and do a variety
I
of
would think
things.
that if, as we develop the alley, that we want to stay consistent.
And I think we want to look at these, and we knew we had to do the alleys anyway, so we want to look at these, and if it's something that we really, really like and we want to use them in other parts of the city, then we'll have something to take a look at, so.
That's all I had. Sorry to cut you off on that.
No, you're good.
Does anybody else they want to bring to the board's attention today? Nothing else?
Get it.
Director Krieger?
Motion to adjourn.
There you go.
I have a motion to adjourn from Director Krieger, seconded by Director Yazbek. Call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.